Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cache, and you are watching Shay with the Hobbies. Today is the first week of. I got so many books here. Let me grab it. The Edgar Allan Poe Readalong. As you see, we both have very different books, but the contents are the same. So this week we had 16 poems, and we're going to be discussing them. Not all of them. And if y'all read, y'all know one of them was like thicker than a snicker. It was, quite a few pages. Quite a few pages you had to flip through. But we're gonna get into it. But before we start, I let my lovely co-host introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole. My channel name is Who Picked This Book, and you can catch me there just reading a whole bunch of romance, but we're doing the Edgar Allan Poe readathon this month.
Yeah, no, who was that yesterday? It was either yesterday or today. I did a live yesterday. So it was either one of those. No, yesterday was Monday. So Sunday, never mind. Yesterday, it was either today or Sunday. Someone was talking about romance, and I was like, you know who you need to be following if you're not already following? You need to be following Nicole. Nicole got all the romance book recommendations. She do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Girl, you be doing the work. Who don't know? Every time I look up, I'd be like, oh, because we were talking about somebody. Kaylee was talking about Monster Smut. And I was like, Nicole just read something like that, and she trying to read I Married a Merman, and she done read I Married a Lizard Man, and I Married a Naga, and whatever that is. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I did. Also, I just read The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert.
The Dragon's Bride. That's what I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. It was surprisingly sweet.
I feel like you would say that. I feel like you'd be like, it was such a sweet, was it though?
It was.
Was it though? Was it though? The way that I just like realized that I never updated the description box, so I'm low key like stalling so that I can just copy the description box from the announcement video into, it's the little things. It is because what I did was I made it right after I did the thumbnail, and I just forgot to go in and do that. Yeah. It's okay though. So let's say hi to everybody, and then we'll get to the questions. We got 3 for y'all, so we'll see. Emma Ray, hello. Hey. Yes, come on. I have my eye on that book for a minute. Come on now.
It's so good. And just if you're talking about The Dragon's Bride, just the clench cover is just it's so amazing. It's just beautiful.
I'm like, ooh, wait now. Today, it's so good to see you. Heather, hello. How are you, love? I hope you're having a great week. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, I got to talk to you about the Bride Collector. OMG. Hi, Pat. Okay, who texted me? Oh, never mind. Also, y'all, I ordered dinner like right before the stream started. Not like right before, like 20 minutes before. So somebody's going to knock. Somebody going to knock. Okay, so just FYI.
That's fine.
Right? I know, right? It'd be like that. Okay, so first question. What was your favorite poem this week?
Do you see your twins comment here?
Is my twin there? Is my twin there? Where my twin at?
Your twin's here.
Twin, are we wearing the same shirt? Oh my God. So here's the funny thing. Is before we got on here, I was telling Nicole how much I was like, thank you so much for introducing us. Like, we really do be thinking a lot. Like, and we be wearing the same clothes. Yes. I'm just saying, it was always meant to be, is the truth. We was always meant to find each other, is the truth. Yeah, that just made me, that's so funny because we were legit talking about us twinning right before we went live.
He says literally the same damn shirt.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Send me a picture. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
But what's funny is I put this shirt on just for the lives because it wasn't the shirt I was wearing all day today, which is even hilarious. Come on now, come on. Okay, also my food just got here. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. But yeah, we were just talking about how you two are literally twins and not just because you share the same birthday. That's hilarious. But yeah, so okay, she did have the first question that we were going to discuss. And basically, if you had read all of the poems for this week, the first 16, do you have a favorite? And which one was your favorite poem for the week?
The way Titan is like really eyeing my food, boy. If you don't back up,
Like, that's for us, right?
He
That's
tried
for
to
us.
get out the door too. He was like, "Oh, there's somebody there, bro. You know better." Okay. So I will say that like the first stanza of O Tempora, O Moors
Mhm.
literally made me think about the 2016 election.
Really?
Like I was reading it, like
Uh-huh.
because it talks about like the good old times and
Yeah.
everything. Like it just reminds me of like how people hold on to the past and they just swear that it was good, but it like wasn't.
Well, you're like, good for who?
Right.
Good
And
for
then he
who?
says, like he's like the good old times were far the worst of any. Like
Mhm.
it just made me giggle. So that I thought was funny. Okay, I will say like I did not get the to Margaret part because I wasn't sure about the things on the side.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah,
wasn't sure if that was gonna make it make more sense. I will be honest and say that I did not go look up anything extra listed. I will admit that. I was like, I'm not trying to do research right now. Should I? And probably will I later on? Yes. But it's only day 5 of April. So, don't expect a lot out of me right now.
Yeah, I was expecting like this whole part. This is what she's talking about here when you're reading
Oh,
to
yeah. My
Margaret.
bad. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I thought the person who did the introduction and actually who put this all together, there was actually like if you've read, I think you've seen the most of it, obviously, in it was in Al
That second
Arif.
to last one?
Yeah, Al Arif.
Yeah,
You
because
see a
there's all
lot
the
of
invitation and yeah.
yes. So I was kind of expecting that because I don't know if that was actually in like or that's just trying to like explain stuff. I think so. I think it's just like the editor
Right.
or
That's
someone
what I
trying to
thought too.
explain something. But
And that's why I wasn't sure if they were like references to the poems or like to the other things. Like these two lines came from this place and that, and
right.
that I wasn't sure either. And it was like I thought it was like, oh, we're just not gonna know. And then by the time we got to the second to last poem, I was like, oh no, y'all definitely got footnotes, so you definitely
Yes.
could have told us. You totally could have told us what that was. Okay, all right,
Exactly.
cool,
But
cool,
you
cool, cool.
chose not to.
You
So
chose.
I did end up looking up some stuff that I wasn't sure of or if like the
Mhm,
poems were like a little hard to understand and we'll get to that question here shortly. But
mhm,
yeah, I did so I have my notebook.
mhm. It's so cute. I like it a lot.
Thanks. And so yeah, my if do you want to answer question 1 or do you want me to go
So
first?
I was gonna say, so the two that I liked the most were Dreams and Spirits of the Dead. I like those two the
Yes.
most. Spirits of the Dead, probably the number one, and Dreams
Yes.
probably number two.
My dogs are barking, sorry.
See, this what you have when you dog mom. So yeah, no, I definitely like Spirit of the Dead, and I think it also was one of the easier ones for me to follow. See, everybody.
I think they heard my dogs barking. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, no, okay.
hi, honey. Hi. Yeah, I totally agree. My favorite was Spirits of the Dead for sure. And it was just like also the really the only spooky one that we got. I really, really enjoyed it. I was like, oh
Right,
yeah.
which is like I'm so used to nothing but spooky him, so I just thought we would get more spooky poems, but that was not a thing. I know not all our dogs are like having a. It's a whole thing. Yeah, I know. But okay, so here's the thing, y'all. I know for y'all who've been here for a while, y'all know I'm allergic to both of them, but I'm way more allergic to Cleo than Titan. And so like earlier, Cleo was like, "You're gonna rub me," so I'm like rubbing her. And like, I'm like, okay, it'll just be my hand. But she keeps like rubbing her body up against my leg. And because I didn't feel anything right away, I like sat down on the couch. I sat down on the couch and looked down, and like my thighs were all bubbled up. I had to go get in the shower. Like I react to her so fast. Like,
Wow, that is so fast.
right.
Oh my gosh.
Right. That's why she don't ever be the one that jumps up here. Is because like I'm like always trying to, and see now my hand is itching already. Like it's
like, I love you, but you are a danger to me.
Right, man. I'm gonna take this allergy medicine. I got this root beer they just brought me.
Yes.
Okay, we didn't say. Hey, Bree, it's good to see you again, love. Thank you so much for y'all. Sorry, I was trying to get the two allergy pills. Hold on. Back up. I think one back up.
Don't eat the allergy pills.
Right. Don't eat the allergy pill, boy. God. Okay, I got it. Sorry, y'all. Life of a dog, mom. Ha.
Yep. You got to keep them from eating anything that drops on the floor.
Anything. Because if it falls and you had it, then they got to eat it.
It's fair game.
It's fair game. It was meant for them in their head. Okay, there we go.
But yeah, I really like Spirits of the Dead because I just have this preconceived notion that Edgar Allan Poe writes really macabre, spooky stuff. And so going into these first 16, that was really the only spooky one that we got.
Really, like, it was amazing to me how many love poems or love like thoughts that he had, because the truth of the matter is in school that is not what you're taught about Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, like I feel like the one that I know of is like my Annabelle Lee. Like I feel like that's the one. And other than that, it's like they all sad.
Yeah.
Or
we did, we Annabelle Lee and The Raven for sure is what they focused on. And my English teacher did a whole The Raven like we sat in a circle, we read the story. It was like during Halloween time, and I was like, yeah, it's spooky. So yeah, I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting
already. I'm over here scratching, so y'all just it's my dog. You know, I'm a clean person. It make me itch. Okay.
You should have taken that a while ago.
I should have, but I wasn't. I forgot that I wasn't thinking about. Oh, you ordered food. They're gonna be all up under you.
Yes. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to feel like a couple of these, the majority of them these first 16 were feeling like lovely and talking about love and also like beauty of like nature and the moon and and just I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a little bit more spookiness, but I'm glad that we're looking like we can look at him in a different light, because his life was obviously very troubled and
the way. Okay, so did we all get an introduction in our book? Because we did.
Yeah, I got an introduction.
I was behind on reading the poem, so I read like the first two, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to come back to this and get back to the poems real quick." But where it started, I was like, "Boy, what was you doing?" It was a lot. And so like I knew that because when we decided we were gonna do this, and I was like doing my like racist check, when I was reading stuff, everything I read was about like how much he loved his wife. How much he how much he was like consumed by her, how like much her death had like hurt him and everything like that. And so this was never something I knew prior to us doing this or anything like that. And so reading these first 16, totally see that. And I will say that like his description is so much more than what I thought it would be poetically, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like a lot of these poems really do kind of put you in the atmosphere. Like, I feel like so many times I'm like, dang, like all of this is at night. but it's not a creepy nighttime. It's like a peaceful, lovely night. And I feel that in all these poems, and I don't know how you're doing that, but you're doing it. So there's that. So yeah, that's what I as we were going through them.
Yeah, I felt like that whole atmospheric when we were reading Evening Star, that one I felt that. Also I did also atmospheric but also kind of spooky when we were reading The Lake, because it just talked about how the speaker wanted to get somewhere like solitary and he came across this lake and it's just so beautiful and peaceful. But then also you read one line where it's just like the water can be dangerous as well. It can be your grave just as well. It can be your, solitary, And I was like, oh, that's true.
Right. Like it was water. Like, okay, it's getting a little darker. Okay.
Yeah. So I started noticing it then, but.
And I feel like he does personification so very well. Like the night is a her, like just throughout the poems. I really liked that he did that in the things that he wrote. I thought that was it has definitely given me a different perspective on Edgar Allan before I read these, because again, I'm way more acquainted with his stories than with his poetry. And so I completely agree with this. Completely. The lyric can't only, I say Annabelle Lee and the Raven are his only poems. I truly agree with that. Heather says, I agree with Nicole. I also love the atmospheric nature that still comes through despite it not having the spooky things. For sure. Alicia, hey girl, you're fine. And I feel like, I don't know if I clicked on this, but I think Heather said, she said, I love the spirits of the dead as well. It was good. It was really good. Really good. And I feel like it was the first one that was like had the stanzas broken down. And I don't know, for me, I really liked that because as I was reading it, like they felt like different parts.
Yeah.
And it really made it feel like I'm highlighting something different. This is different and important for its own reason. Pay attention to it. It was like how I felt as I was reading it, especially. And I think it's because I feel like I've been like trained to believe that with Roman numerals, like they mean something important. And so when I saw that, it definitely like made it hit more as I was reading it.
Yep.
Erica said he so loved his wife and really spiraled after she died. Like, no, I can totally see that. I could totally see that with what we got. Okay, so for question 2, which poem was the hardest to understand? Well, for me, it was that second to last, that Allah Ra.
Yep.
That was, first of all, that was a long poem.
It's his longest poem.
I got lost quite a few times.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't, like I would feel like I was understanding, and then I was like, wait, what are we talking about now? So I do feel like I know that I'm going to have to go back and reread this. Especially because so much of it is footnotes.
Yes.
Like of it is footnotes.
Yeah, I think this was the one poem that the editor of this book really did a lot of the footnotes. Yeah, right. This one poem, and it's his longest poem at 422 lines. I did look that up because I didn't count the lines, but I did look it up.
Oh, you did look it up? I was wondering. I was like, dang,
422 lines.
I would never.
But it's the longest one. We got the longest one out of the way the first.
Hey. Hey. I mean, and it also makes sense that that's what you put in the front of the book when you were making the collection.
Yeah.
Because chill out. I don't know, because I didn't finish the introduction. Does he say like that they're in a specific order?
I didn't read the whole introduction either, but I don't think they are, because I also looked up for the longest one here, that the one that we're still talking about. He wrote this before he was 15 years old. So I don't think it's written in any kind of like time frame of when he wrote it, because I feel like before 15, this probably would have been the first poem if they were doing it that way. Right. But yeah, this is definitely one of like the hardest ones to understand. And that's also why it's one of his most critiqued like poem, like also like he received a lot of criticism for this poem just because it is really hard to understand, like the metaphors and the way it's like structured is very strange for poetry as well. And you can see it just by looking at it. There are some things where they're blocks, there are some things where it's kind of stanza like a traditional poem would be, but and like the rhythm and the rhyme doesn't happen in kind of like a formulaic nature as some poems do. But yeah, it's one of those where you have to reread, and I was feeling like this one's so long that I don't want to reread it so much. But
I was feeling the same way, but I know that I need to, because I feel like there are things that I know that just went completely over my head because of it. I think that was another thing about like throughout reading this that I realized. One, I'm curious about the way we pronounce things before, because most of his poems are rhyming poems. Most of them have beats that they follow rhythmically. But it'll be like wind and bind or blind. And it's like they don't sound the same. And you're using it so that in the context, I know that you mean wind and not wind. So I know that it's still wind, but I'm like, well, did y'all say wind in the 1840s? Is that how y'all pronounce this word then? Because it happened quite a bit while I was like reading, because I started to read them out loud to try to feel like I understand them better. Because when I was reading in my head, I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I got to say these words out loud. And so reading out loud, I was like, that don't rhyme. That's not the same. So I was curious about that. I was curious about that because language changes so much in how we use words and how we say things, right? Like we were talking about that in a lot the other day, how nonplussed means that you look shocked, but people think that it doesn't mean that because people started using it the wrong way. So that was something that I thought of as we were going through this. Also, I feel like there were so many freaking references in this poem.
Yes.
Like we're talking about Greek gods, we're talking about biblical stuff. We're talking about like it just was like every time it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yes.
So that was the hardest to understand for me. What about y'all in the chat? Did any of y'all get to read and let me know?
Yeah, I did look at, and also I think in one of the little footnotes in this, I think it was the very first one of this poem, it was referencing the title, and it was actually a star was discovered by, is it Tycho Brahe, which appeared suddenly in the heavens, attained in a few days a brilliance surpassing that of Jupiter, then as suddenly disappeared and has never been seen since. I think that's really interesting. How it was like a star was discovered and then it just disappeared.
Right, like how would you know that you discovered a star if it so many questions.
Yeah. Apparently, like you could see it very well because it said like a brilliancy surpassing that of Jupiter, so you could see it very, very well, but it just kind of never came back. I'm like, that's very strange.
I'm so curious.
Very curious.
I'm so curious because it's like, wait, like I just.
Like, was it a star?
But like, so you saw it for 4 days. Did you take a picture? Like, I'm trying to see how you get to name it. Like, how do you get to tell people, oh, I discovered this star. It ain't here no more, but I discovered it.
I actually ended up looking up that name.
Okay, come on now. Come on.
It was, I can't believe I didn't write it down.
So many questions.
Right? And apparently he was a Danish astronomer. He was born in 1546 and died in 1601. So this was a very long time ago. I mean, you had to probably have someone with you to verify, yeah, that's what I'm seeing, because there was no photography. There was nothing
part. So like, yeah.
There was nothing where you could be like, yeah, let me take a picture of it, or I'm looking through my telescope.
Right. Again,
this is what I saw.
Right. I'm so curious now.
But then also, stars don't just disappear, right? Like, was he looking at a star?
To the earth? Don't they shoot? Like, I have so many questions.
Like, was he looking at a star? I don't know. My
Right?
whole brain
Was
is
it a
like,
star? Are you sure it was a star?
was it a UFO?
Right. Are you sure? Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't necessarily not believe that aliens don't exist. I'm not so hardy to think that we the only planet that got living species on it. Like, to me, that don't even make logical sense. Like, why? Humans are not special. Trust me, I am one. Like, it don't make no sense. It just don't.
So
Aaron
that
said
got
these
me just
poems,
spiraling.
right, for real. Aaron said these poems made me want to read a Poe biography because it made me so interested in thought process. I agree.
That would be
I
so
agree,
cool.
especially because there were so many love poems. I am just super duper curious, and I'm really curious about this marrying this 13-year-old. Like, I'm really, really, really curious about that.
His
13-year-old
13-year-old cousin.
right? And not like a far off cousin, like yo daddy's sister's daughter,
Right.
like
For literally first cousins.
literally first cousin, like literally first cousin. I just feel like it makes sense. I'm glad y'all didn't have no kids. Y'all would have been able to take care of them kids.
Yikes.
They would have special needs, and back then y'all would have done a horrible job with a special needs child.
Yep.
Y'all were dealing horrible with each other, like,
Right.
man. But I will say that, like, perverse love or not, you can definitely tell he loved her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he felt whatever he felt for her very strongly. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
I can't deny from the words. So, so there's that, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Because again, didn't expect that at all. Okay,
And also,
so
I think you had mentioned this earlier, but how he was talking about how the night being beautiful and referencing the night as her or she. And I noticed that a lot in his poems as well, talking about love and with things are beautiful. He's always giving the she, her pronouns with things to him that are beautiful.
beautiful, right?
And I do just think that he could see that, like, his love for his wife is transcending that and just noticing, oh, beautiful things just remind me of my wife because I love her so much. So I'm just going to call them her or she.
I had not even thought about it that way. I could totally see that. But like, yeah, like, because he was personifying so many things, but it was almost always in a she, her fashion, especially if it was positive. It was always in she, her fashion if it was positive. So totally, totally agree with that. So outside of love, which we talked about, were there any common themes that you noticed? Again, night. I feel like there's maybe 2 poems that don't have night mentioned in them out of the ones that we read. And so for me, night is like darkness. It's quiet. It's more peaceful than daytime for most people, right? Like, it's very solitary. And so it's interesting because even in talking about love, these things that are somewhat synonymous with his short stories are still very much present in the poems, even though the connotation is different, which I think to me is like, and I see why, they call you one of the greats. I see why you considered a classic, because you're taking and showing us 2 sides of this night, of this darkness, of this solitary. And I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, it's definitely a talent where I'm sure as we go on and we read more of his poetry, you'll see the flip side. You'll see that he can describe night as being something beautiful and peaceful and tranquil, but also you can go into the darkness of the night, and things that go bump in the night and things that are spooky and scary. And he can describe that just as well as he was describing how it's beautiful. So definitely, yeah, night times were some common themes. Moonbeams, like I'm pretty sure like in almost every single poem there was some reference to moon or beams from the moon. Stars, for sure, there was a couple references to stars. But But yeah, I was expecting, Aaron, you're saying here death and sadness. I was actually expecting a little bit more death and sadness. I did see that in a few, but not as I thought I would in these first 16 for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure less than what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like that goes back to what Erica was saying about the literary canon. Like this is more so what we are led to think and believe about him
Mm-hmm.
as a writer. I think another thing that we talked about prior was there's a lot of biblical and or like religious type of references, like
Yes.
from Gomorrah to Eden, to oh God, oh Lord, oh God, oh Lord, like throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And so that also is like very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because just in general, Christianity in early America is just such an interesting thing to me,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it's filled with so much hypocrisy in it that it's like it's interesting to me how many people really did cling to it though, and
Oh
to
yeah.
the ideals of it. Like it really does permeate through most things that were written in the older time. Like there's religious references to them, and I don't know, it wasn't what I expected from him. And I don't know
Yeah.
why, but I did
Mm-hmm.
not expect it from him. I did not expect as many like things. I was like, oh, that's in the Bible. Oh, that's in the Bible. Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
expect to have that while we were reading him.
Yeah, I didn't either, for sure. Yeah, it's also another thing, kind of like we're kind of just ingrained in us from reading The Raven that um, it's okay, no, it's fine. They just want to say hi. But yeah, from like reading Edgar Allan Poe was required reading in high school, but we read his more, sinister, spooky stuff. Like it's just something that's ingrained to us that he writes spooky, macabre stuff. Like we didn't even know that he has a capability of writing something as like a love poem, as you would get in, that second. I think it's the second one to Margaret and also to Octavia. They could be considered love poems at this point. So it could be the same way about him writing a lot about religion and how you could almost see his relationship with God in a few of these for sure. So it's just something that we were never taught.
I totally agree. Also, twin, I just see your picture. We totally got on the same shirt. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You fire for that. Okay, I just want you to know that. So Heather said, I'd be interested to see the timing around his wife's life. Like if the loving, like serene night is while she's alive, and then all the spooky torment of night is post her. I think that is a great question, which was the other reason why I was asking about the order of the poem. Is like,
Yeah.
are they arranged in like a way? But we know like this one was written when you said he was like 15. Like
15,
so
yeah.
that also to me, okay, so thinking of that, right? It's weird to me that this would be the one y'all would critique the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you critique the one that he wrote when he was 15? Because knowing that, you would know that it's one of his earliest writings. You would know that as a 15-year-old, you don't have a full grasp of any or everything. So it's just your ramblings. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's interesting that that's the one that people kind of get hung up on. Because I feel like
Yeah.
that would be the one that I'd probably give you the most leeway, because you're like starting out. Like I
Right.
wouldn't think too long or too hard about that. So when you said that, I hadn't realized that, and that just is like, that is an interesting thing. Like I would hate for somebody to get hung up on something I wrote when I was 15. Y'all, I was in a different place. A different place. A different place.
He really didn't become like a household name back then until he published The Raven. The Raven is what really set him.
Mm.
And so they probably they didn't even know he wrote that when he was 15. And then once they read The Raven, like, oh, let me read this author's backlist back then, So, and then probably they're just like, oh yeah, there's a couple hit or misses one
Okay.
there. So
Yeah, I was
that could
thinking
be
more of like now times it was being the thing, but you're talking about it was like back when.
yeah, back then.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can definitely see that then for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
But that is
like, again, when I read Broken Earth and then I went back and read the Inheritance trilogy, and I was like, what? Y'all didn't start paying attention to this one? Y'all missed this one? What was y'all doing? So I totally Totally can get that.
But this is actually, Heather, this is super interesting. And it actually makes me want to see when his wife was alive and then go back and date.
Let me look and see if I can see like a chronological order of his publishing. And then we can look at the date. So
yeah, I want to know when she was alive. And then I want to know when he wrote all of these poems. And I want to put the year next to all of these poems. I think that should have been a little thing that the editor of this book should have done.
Right. I think at the very least, just a page.
Or like next to the title or something, just like he wrote this in this year, or this was published in this year, you know, like.
Okay, so works and tales, chronological list. Okay. Are these like poems and stuff too? Let's see.
Is that everything?
These like stories.
I can't believe he only lived about till he was 40.
He was only 40.
40. And they still don't even know what happened to him. His death is very mysterious.
Remember, I feel like when he died, we didn't know a lot about a lot. So it makes sense that it's mysterious, right? Like, you know. Okay, so these look like, okay, no, this looks like his tales. We need his poems. Okay. Okay, so poems. But these look like, okay, now let me also go to Google and look up Edgar Allan Poe. And you know, usually I tell y'all don't trust Wikipedia, but we're going on Wikipedia today. Okay. Where's his wife? When did she die? Okay, Virginia Clem. And it says they got married in 1829. Wait, this doesn't make sense because then it says, well, maybe did she die in 1830 then? They was only together a year?
Only a year? Wow.
Hold on, let me read this again. Okay. Before entering West Point, he moved back to Baltimore for a time and stayed with his widowed aunt, her daughter Virginia, his first cousin, in September of that year. So in September of 1829, this don't tell me where he married her. Let me go back. This is why I don't like this. This thing moved too fast. Or it don't make no sense in the way that it's ordered. Baptized on lynchment. He became engaged to a girl. That didn't work out. Okay, so for the first ones, Tamerlane and other poems, they were written before he married her.
Okay. So it's saying in our little introduction here, it's saying Virginia died in 1847 of tuberculosis.
1847. Okay, but it looked like he married somebody else then.
Okay.
So, like, were you messed up about her dying after the fact?
Or who were you messed up about dying?
Right.
Because if she died...
Okay, so they got married in 1835. But it says a girl was his second wife. So are you his third wife? I'm trying to understand.
I need a timeline.
Right?
Because if Virginia died in 1847, Poe dies 2 years later because he died in 1849.
Oh, okay. No, I misunderstood. So this is why it's confusing, because Allan is somebody else's last name and Poe is who they're using for him. So when they did it that way, that's where I missed it. So, okay. So that was somebody else's second wife. See, this is why you got to keep reading, y'all. Y'all see, that's why I didn't stop when I was getting frustrated, because you got to get all the information. So, okay.
Yeah, and they got married.
He married her on September 22nd, 1835. He was 26 and she was 13.
Yep.
And they lied and said she was 21. So that must mean that it was like that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
Like, outside of just being a cousin at the time, that still wasn't okay. So we can't even be like, it was the time, because somebody had to lie. Boy, if you don't get off my road.
She was 13 and there's no way that she was being able to pass off as 21.
man.
They
Like,
look
I
at her and
see
they're like,
nowadays, but back then y'all wasn't eating the same stuff we eating. We got steroids and everything. Like,
right?
y'all didn't have all that. So 1835,
So
and then she died in
1847.
in 47.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 12 years later. So she
Yeah.
was like 25 when she died.
Mm-hmm.
She was 25 when she died. Okay, so she died. You said 42, right?
She died in 47.
47. Okay, so in 47, so the things that he wrote after that were published was like The Raven and Other Poems. That came out in between like 1845 and 1849.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there was like the works of the late Edgar Allan Poe that came out in 1850, which means that he died like right after her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't live like very long after her.
He died 2 years later. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then if we look at his tales, so according to the tales, story wise, this isn't giving me chronological order though, bruh. That's what I asked for.
That is what I requested.
Right. Because it's giving me the collection and not the the stories.
Got it.
Let's go back. Okay, now it is. Okay, so in 1847, Tata came out, and then we have Lander's Cottage, Hot Frog, Von Kemplin, Xing a Paragraph, and The Lighthouse. So most of his stuff was written before she died.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like well before she died.
Yeah.
So I don't know, y'all. What was it? Was he just the epitome of a tortured artist? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, it said he self-destructive is literally the first word of this introduction. He was self-destructive.
Yeah.
I mean, he was definitely, dabbling in alcoholism and, things like that. So
right.
That could very well.
Like super young too.
Yes. Well,
like that's the other part that all of this is really showing is that like you were not young doing the stuff you were doing. You were a very young person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was orphaned very young as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't.
But it also looked like he was adopted pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Or foster family.
Yeah.
Like pretty soon after.
Yep.
Let's see. There was okay. So Emery said, "Have y'all seen the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode about him? It was really interesting." No. You got a link?
I'm gonna write that. Or yeah, I'm gonna write it down. BuzzFeed.
Okay, so final question. How are you feeling after week 1? How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Are you like ready for week 2 overall? Y'all let us know in the comments as well.
I'm ready for week 2. I'm really these first 16, they really showed me a different side to what I thought I knew about Edgar Allan Poe's writing. So I'm interested to see if that theme will continue with the next 16, or will we just progressively see darker influences, which, is probably what's going to happen, as you get into his, later in his life when things really start spiraling for him, you probably will. It's going to be a trend where you'll see darker stuff emerging for sure. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see either the descent or a happy mix.
Yeah, no, I definitely am I'm intrigued to see what's gonna happen. Because I have no idea now. What I thought isn't what I've gotten. So I've kind of tossed that out the window going forward. Like, okay, we're just gonna see what we're gonna get. And I'm not gonna lie, I am totally with with Aaron on wanting to read a Poe biography now, no lie,
Yes.
to like accompany us reading this, because there's so many things I have questions about now.
Yes.
And I think also the darkness and the sadness and that being a common theme makes so much sense for how long you were doing drugs, bro. Like for how long you were doing drugs and alcoholic. Because again, I was thinking that she died like very early on in their marriage.
Right.
And so I was like leaning towards maybe, this was all after that. Nah, you spiraled fast. Like you didn't spiral long. You spiraled fast and you were out of there very soon after she was. And so now I'm just like, okay. Especially because like y'all didn't have kids either. Right. So like that's something else that I think is really interesting. Especially because for like the time period, she definitely should have had kids. So
and for as long as they were married, it should have happened at least by accident,
At least, right? Because y'all contraceptive, y'all don't know. In the 18th, y'all didn't really know what y'all was doing. I know y'all didn't, because we barely know what we doing now. So I know y'all didn't. Like people got endometriosis and PCOS from our birth control. So I know y'all didn't know what y'all was doing. So like, like I don't know. I'm definitely gonna be looking for Edgar Allan Poe biography though.
And if I can't find one, I think I'm going to make one. I want to make like a timeline of like things that were happening in his life and then what poems or what short stories were being published or written at that time.
Yeah, I'm going to link you. I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the chat for this thing, because it seems to be like somebody, because it looks very, what's the word? Like my first website. So it looked like somebody might have done this for like a thesis type of thing or something, where they had to like, or they felt nerdy enough to do it, because it looks very basic, but it is very like and then it's interesting like the years where he didn't write anything or like nothing came out. Like that's interesting to think about. So yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts or anything? And y'all, Emma Ray dropped this. I'm gonna starring it, pin it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'm
so
super
interested. Y'all
interested.
can watch that. Any final thoughts
in that
before we get out of here?
I
don't really have anything else. Yeah, I know we did an hour, but like I feel like we didn't cover it. We
talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about a lot, and yeah, I really, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm liking that. I'm getting like it's different than what I thought it was going to be. I like that. Thank you, Emma Ray, for this link, because I'm really interested in watching that, and definitely I'm down to read a biography about his life and things.
Okay, we'll have to find one. We'll have to find one and then get it, because like for sure. I'm with you on this, Heather. I'm so looking forward to diving deeper into his works for sure. I will say that it is helping me to understand why he is considered one of the greats. Like I'm definitely seeing it. And so because like I think I was kind of like, am I still gonna think that as like we get through this, or am I gonna be like, why are y'all still holding on to this man? And as I'm reading it, like I see why, because especially knowing what we know, like knowing us now, for the time in which he was writing these things, he was well before his time by far. Like for sure. So and Emma says, yeah, no problem. I watched it a while ago. It was very interesting. Thank you so much. We're definitely going to be looking at it. We'll probably talk about it next week. Like, hey, we watched that video. Here were our thoughts. But thank y'all so much for being here. Nicole, do you have any announcements you want to let the people know about, madam?
Probably
y'all got a live this week, don't y'all?
We do. Bree and I have a live Thursday. We're going to be talking about the second Arusha book for our Uncle Rick's read-along. We'll be discussing that. I have my own book club, meets every other Wednesday. But yeah, other than that, just like if you need romance recommendations,
go to her channel. Not now, but right now. Not now, but right now. Like she gonna give you the Rex for real. So go ahead and check her out. Don't sleep on my home girl. Okay. All right. Emma says I would definitely be going through that site for there. No, for sure. Definitely check that out. I'm gonna put it in the description box as well. so that it's there. So and the link that you gave, and Mariah, I'm gonna copy both of them and do that just so that like people have them. Like, if y'all want them, here they are.
Extra stuff. Extra
right.
stuff.
Links from the live. There we go. All right, y'all. Y'all have a fantastic rest of y'all evening. Thank y'all so much for being here. Next week, we will be on Nicole's channel talking about the next 16. The graphics are available on Twitter and on Instagram. We'll definitely still be reposting too if you missed them in our stories. So we'll see y'all next time. And thank y'all so much for giving us a little bit of y'all's. Bye.